before we get into the list, we got to talk about what happened this week. As a disclaimer, we're recording this on the 12th of October, so it is Thursday after the Title Tuesday. The big war reignited between NXT and AEW Dynamite, and NXT hot-shotted a lot of things, brought in an enormous amount of talent. They brought in Cody Rhodes, LA Knight, John Cena, The Undertaker, Asuka. I mean, there was a lot of star power to set the stage on what was a pretty good Tuesday night, and it reignited kind of the old fires that we had here at the beginning of the Wednesday night wars. And we had a really good. I thought this was the first Dynamite that I had watched cover to back from a long time, and I actually really enjoyed myself. I thought it was an excellent show. But what did you guys think of the show?
Interesting show. I know they had to flip the international belt because of Phoenix being banged up, and Moxley, being banged up too. The women's championship flipping, I was a little shocked by that. So now within the past week, we've had three major title changes within that company. I'm not sure they all made sense, but I'm optimistic about where they're headed. But my issues with AEW right now are not so much with the wrestling itself as it is with everything else that's going on with it. So that's kind of what I thought. And a good show, it's always a good show from the wrestling standpoint.
Yeah, we'll get into the other stuff in a little bit, but yeah, what'd you think about it, Mongoose?
The show overall was excellent. It was wrestling is always good, just like Andretti said. They are putting the spotlight onto new people, letting new people run with the ball, and that's awesome. I love seeing people like Swerve and Jay White and some others not only get main event, quote unquote main event time and programs, but get wins and go run with the ball some. And all of that is what the focus should be. And the bad thing about it is that we'll get into shortly, I'm sure, probably way sooner than we should, being how good of a show they just put on Wednesday off of one of the best pay-per-views that I've seen this year, 2 Sundays ago. The bad thing is that they're getting petty. And when I say I specifically mean the guy that's running the ship. And, I had heard a little bit on Observer stuff, and it hit the nail on the head because it was exactly what I was thinking. And that's not a good thing, because this is Bischoff E when it was petty in the times where WWF was turning the heat up on WCW. When we go back to the actual Wednesday Night Wars, one of the coolest things about the Wednesday Night Wars was AEW was the new company and they were poised. And what I mean by that is they would just put on shows and they would have little digs about, the over 50 demo and those types of little needles and ribs. They had that sprint, not a marathon thing on being the elite. And it was all for their niche audience that was on being the elite. And so if you were one of the 100 or 200,000 people that followed that, great. And you probably were in on the joke and loved it. And if you were any kind of mainstreamer, it didn't get to you. And so that's what was cool about it, is that they were able to poke a little bit and have their fun, but it was poking and having fun. And when it's the head guy doing it, it's gross. You know what I'm saying? It's slimy, and it really makes you feel like you're number two. Whereas, when they were a new company in 2019, and then even through their big boom when they had signed Danielson and Punk, about it is they have such a good product going to turn things like that, and that's a shame. They'll blame your Swerves, your Jay Whites. Those are the people that will take the bullets for this, and they shouldn't. So that's what I have to say about that.
Yeah, and what Alvarez said on Observer Radio today is that people within the company want Tony Khan to put the phone down and delete social media off his phone. And I just it just felt so petty. It felt I absolutely agree with what you said. It feels like they solidified themselves as the B squad now. Like they're a clear number two, which yeah, we kind of already knew that from the beginning because, WWE was like, they've got a 40-year head start on them. And so like, it's totally understandable, but you know, you're right. They had little subtle digs, and then now it's like he came out today and said like, oh well, Undertaker and John Cena have never been on a show that was under 1 million viewers until like this week. Like, what does that even? I'm sure that like they weren't ripping 1 million in the early in '93. So
Who
like,
cares? Who cares?
Yeah.
What does it even matter?
Right. And well, the thing about it, John, is they actually were. But the thing about it is exactly, it doesn't matter. And the other thing is, why wouldn't WWE do exactly what they did? Like, why not?
Why would?
And the thing is, the other thing that Alvarez said today, which hit the nail right on the head, is that if Tony Khan had Cena and Undertaker and all these people in the chamber, he would have used them all. And so that's what's frustrating to me, is that when they were a new company, they were poised, and they're now an established company and they're petty. And again, it's really frustrating because, for you specifically, I'm not calling you out or anything, but I'm saying that like, what frustrates me is that, as not only as good a friend of you are as mine, but as much of a wrestling pal as you are, I hate to see you not watch Wrestle Dream and not watch Dynamite and see these matches and see these characters and see these things. And it's not your fault there. Yeah. Like this harkens back to when AEW started. The reason that they got so much footing was the WWE product was so bad. And so all of us, admittedly, and we say it all the time, hate watched all of the WWE pay-per-views and would not watch Raw or SmackDown. All we ever did was just watch those pay-per-views and just bust on them for 2 hours, 3 hours, and just pray for a takeover to come every now and then so that we could see good wrestling. And then all of a sudden, AEW came on, and what was great about it was that they were an alternative in that we were able to see some international or some indie style wrestling all the time, whereas that was always just reserved for, basically takeovers, right? And even whenever they were really, really starting to, find their groove, they didn't lose to NXT one time in the demo throughout that whole Wednesday Night War thing. And again, the company, or it was Hunter with the marathon, not a sprint, or it was Vince with blood and guts. And it was those kinds of things. And so AEW was able to wear that as a badge of honor because, hey, we're not saying anything about them and they're poking at us. They're scared. And now it's completely opposite where they're scared. And the thing about it is nobody in the locker room is, dude.
No.
You watch those matches and watch those people kill each other and watch those people give 7-star effort on any show, any week. And none of them are the ones that are out there tweeting about WWE. You know what I mean? That's what sucks, is that the face of the company is ugly right now. And I don't want it to be that way. I don't want it to be that way for either of them, but you can't be in that situation whenever you're in the position that they are, which is not only solidified as a B company, but it's cold. And it's a shame that they're cold because they're good. And all they need to do, I just said it, we said in the group chat the other day, is if they stay the course, then people will come, man. That was what happened with NXT. Yep. NXT, the second that they quit it being 2.0 and they went back to just characters and stories and good characters and stories and good matches, people came back. Yep. That's all they need to do.
Yeah, I totally agree. Do you have anything else you want to say about it, Andretti?
I worry that he is who we thought he was, is my biggest worry. I mean, he's a guy that doesn't have a whole lot of experience, that has had a pretty privileged life, that now all of a sudden is losing and doesn't know how to handle it. And he's lashing out and everything he's saying is stupid. which is what's even worse. What's coming out of his mouth is stupid. Just shut up.
And here's the other thing, man, is that delete social media thing, like everybody's quality of life improves if you don't worry about the internet. Is as much as it's the best thing that's ever happened, isn't real, right? Like, it's not real life. Anything that people say, 99 times out of 100, they would never say to your face. And it's all about flaming and trolling and everything. And it's been that way forever, man. Like, that's the way that the internet is. And if you are going to gauge your product on Twitter, or if you're going to fight your battles on Twitter, then you are literally Vince Russo in 2000 booking things for smart fans that read the Observer, whenever that was actually 2% of your fan base, and you ran the other 98% off. Like that's what that was, and that's what this is going to be. And it is. It's frustrating to see. For the sake of the talent and for the sake of the actual where people can go get work and then shine and make more money and entertain us, I want this to work, man. I don't at all. I do not like the last week, especially the last 3 days. And I just mean in terms of reaction. Like, the products were great, but I do not like the way that TK has been handling the situation here.
Yeah, it's just
when you start losing games, you focus on what you need to do to get better. You don't worry about the team down the street. You focus on what are the things that we have to do to get better so that we can compete. You don't sit on Twitter and poke holes in Shawn Michaels for not being Booker of the Year whenever he is. You don't say stupid things about The Undertaker and John Cena. That's not what you do, man. You focus on what you have to do to make your shows better. I mean, one thing I wouldn't do is come out publicly and say that you don't care about the booking because people are going to love the wrestling. That maybe that's a good place to start.
Yeah, that's super frustrating. And damn, I like this sucks that, because I know that you guys on the here won't listen for obvious reasons, but I had to check in because I saw yesterday, or I saw it on Tuesday afternoon. I saw Bischoff tweet that NXT was going to get $9.90, and that NXT was going to get $9.90 and AEW was going to end up around $6.50, and he like almost hit it like nail on the head. And then I checked out his Strictly Business with John Alba, which I will give it to Alba. He was giving it back to Bischoff, saying like, because Bischoff just missed things in the show, which I have no idea how you miss when you DVR something. But he missed some things in the show that were just made him look like an idiot, like usual. But he was saying that he's messing with Tony is just he's showing himself as just a fanboy now, who's upset because he's losing. And he only knows how to fantasy book. He doesn't know how to produce real television. And now he's going to get butthurt because WWE brought like heavy hitters. Now, granted, like, yes, they brought down the heavy hitters, but if Tony had them, he would absolutely use them as well. And they had to bring him down to the C show to go against AEW, which, I mean, that doesn't even need to be said, but the fact that like, yeah, so what, you got your ass kicked. There's no reason to continuously bitch and complain on Twitter and calling out The Undertaker and fucking John Cena of all people, and then call out Shawn Michaels as well. Like, and then he said something about Vince McMahon. Like, there's no reason to do it. You just look like an idiot. Like, you just look like a spoiled little bitch boy. And it's, I mean, it just looks so bad. It pisses me off. It makes me
embarrassing, man. It's embarrassing. Even as a fan, it's embarrassing.
Yeah, it is embarrassing. It makes me not want to watch. But even though like I actually really truly enjoyed that Dynamite when I watched it. I was like, damn, like I actually like that Swerve match was awesome. The Swerve and Prince Nana are some of the greatest things that has come out of 2023 for AEW. And then you go to like Christian starts off the show. Like, look at where Christian was at the beginning of the year and look at where he's at now. and then you cap it off with Edge and Luchasaurus. Like, it was a good show. You had Orange Cassidy in there winning the belt back. Like, it was a really good Dynamite. Like, and then now you just got this big old tub of shit sitting on top of it because somebody's butt hurt on Twitter. Like, it's just, it like really makes you not even want to watch at all.
Well, the thing with that is for Bischoff, like I wish that he could have been a little bit more introspective. But he looked like a fanboy that can only fantasy book because Eric Bischoff, you challenged Vince McMahon to a fight on Nitro. So what? Like you had Tony Schiavone spoil the end of a Raw so that people wouldn't watch it and say that'll put butts in seats.
Yeah.
What? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, so if he would have been a little bit more humble and vulnerable and self-aware and say, Tony, I was there and these are the mistakes I made and this is how we ended up losing, that actually would have a lot more cachet than him just critiquing and criticizing and slinging his arrows at somebody that's doing literally what he did. This is what I mean by, if TK could just delete Twitter, because you know what, man? Eric Bischoff does not exist in my reality. Jim Cornette does not exist in my reality. So whatever they say, I don't consume it. And you know what? It doesn't matter to me. You know, like there's some things that and I realized that Bischoff's whole thing was that he's just going to lie about the past, and that Cornette's whole thing is no matter what happens, I'm not going to like the indie style or the Japanese style or whatever. And it's like, okay, then I don't need to consume this, right? Like, because why am I going to listen to things and take time out of my day to get angry? And so that's what I wish that Tony could do is just say, oh, every time that I go on Twitter, I just escalate bad situations, I should stop. Because if he didn't say anything, do you know what would have happened? Instead of people bashing him, everybody would have literally been making excuses for him. We would have heard people stand for him and say, wow, they still did a hair off of a .30 in the demo, and they were going against playoff baseball, The Undertaker, John Cena, Cody Rhodes. Like, that's a win. We could have heard all those things, man, and people would have said those things. And instead, people are saying, man, this guy, he just can't get out of his own way. He's a baby, blah, blah, blah. And that's a shame.
Yeah. And I want to say that, like, Bischoff did say that. He was like, look, I went out and did these things and they came back to bite me in the ass in the end. Like, I know exactly where he's like, he said, I understand where Tony's at and I don't envy Tony, but
good for him. Good for him. Then
that's what I was surprised about.
If he said, then that's what he should be doing, John. Is you will attract more flies with honey than shit. And by that I mean, if the honey here is, these were my mistakes, man, and let me own them and let me say it. So if he did that, then good for him. I'm good on you, Bischoff.
Yeah, it's really soured what was an awesome Tuesday night of wrestling.
Well, it's been an awesome 2 weeks of AEW wrestling. And then we end up with him taking shots at Shawn Michaels, which I still don't even understand why he took a shot at Michaels for no reason. Like,
yeah.
What was that?
Yeah, I have no idea. It's so bad. It makes him so bad.
And here's what I would like to attribute it as, and maybe I'm wrong. I would like to attribute it as he is trying to be funny, right? He's trying to pop the boys, fine by everybody because, oh, sick burn, right?
Yeah.
And because of who he is, it doesn't work, man. Like that's in any profession, in any walk of life. Like, you can't do that. It's way different if John Moxley goes on Talk is Jericho and buries Vince McMahon and Triple H and blah, blah, blah. That's one thing, because that would pop the boys, right? Because he's a boy. When it's the boss, you got to be a boss. You do. You have to be a leader. Like, you you're not one of the boys in that sense. And when you end up calling out another boss like that, it's where you do look petty. And I don't remember. I think it might have been Mike Sempervive that I heard say that this is the truth. If Tony really wants to do this, then what you do is you get a hired hand. You get some actual like social media manager person that just goes out there and can say things like that. And then if it crosses a line or if it gets a bad, like your bad PR, then Tony can say, oh, our social media person stepped out of line. He's been reprimanded. Do you know what I mean? Like that, like that's a simple fix.
Yeah.
I don't know. For him to wear it like that it's not a good look.
It's
but the wrestling's been great.
What it is.
Yeah. But the wrestling's been great. And I do need to reiterate, because you said it, John, like the reason that Tony's not incompetent is that you give Christian the ball and let him run with it the way that he has. Christian is the best heel in that company, and he's a top 5 heel in the business right now. Swerve Strickland is incredible. Dude, I couldn't care less about him or the Mogul Embassy or anything. They're my favorite act right now. The Kingdom were my least favorite tag team in the history of pro wrestling. Those guys, Roddy Strong in that neck brace with those glasses on, when he called TV the devil, he made Adam Cole mow the grass in one of those scooters with his foot in a thing. He's not letting him get surgery because he needs him to do chores for him. Dude, that's great television, man. And these are all on his show. And so there's so much good. So why make it bad?
Yeah, exactly.
Just focus on what you need to do in your own locker room to make your product as good as possible. And stop giving a shit about what happens down the street. Who cares?
Yeah.
Right.
You're not competing with the WWE. You're not the same product. So stop acting like you are. Take care of your own business. Keep your mouth shut.
And again, that was how they got notoriety in the first place, was by being their own company. It's not like it's unprecedented with this company. They did it for 3 years. So go to the list. because this could go on for 65 more minutes, and we'll just be saying the same things over and over again.
Let me say one more thing real quick. So I can deal with bad booking. I can deal with starting angles and stopping angles midstream. I can deal with all those things, man, because I know things happen on the fly, whatever, booking's bad sometimes, who cares? It's happened everywhere it's ever been. What I can't deal with is the childishness on social media. Like that drives me away as a fan way faster than anything you're going to do with starting and stopping with Daniel Garcia. I don't care, but I don't want to go on social media and see somebody acting like a 5-year-old.
Yeah, no, totally agree. And
last thing, off of the heels of somebody getting fired for being childish and not knowing how to act and handle his business.
Amen.
That's another thing, because it doesn't that make it look like maybe the guy that we all know wasn't right was right.
Yeah. Damn.
That, there's that too.
Mm-hmm.